I should not point at the camera, but that's how I always start.
Oh, was that Sheila?
Yes, my in-house consultant. Sorry, Sheila. Morning, everyone. Sheila! Welcome to episode number 54 of Merritt in the Morning. We are coming to you live, if you're on Facebook, from Cafe Audrey's, beautiful Fort Harrison, here in the heart of Lawrence. Our guest today is going to be Vanessa Green Sinders. She is president and CEO of the Indiana Chamber. But, Jim, before that, we got business.
Who are you?
I am Brad Klopfenstein. I'm president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber.
And I'm Jim Merritt.
You were a 30-year state senator, I hear.
That's what they say.
Congratulations. So we want to thank our sponsors. I need our booth man, Josh Gillespie. Josh, tell us what the specials are at the Honey Baked Ham Company.
I'd be happy to, Brad. If you get over $100 on your catering order at Honey Baked Ham, you get $10 off. If it's over $200, it's $20 off. And that would make a great venture out to the track with some Honey Baked Ham.
Yes, it is. He's a great voice guy.
he makes us look good.
He does. He does. And Jim, Honey Baked Ham Company re-upped for perpetually into the future. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Calb family. They have locations 96 in Michigan and Greyhound Pass in Carmel, right there in front of Menards. So, as Josh said, get all your track fixins. Get out there, and they will take good care of you. And you can order big and save $20 if you do $200.
Memorial Day's coming.
It is. Actually, if you got family coming over, that's an excuse
for Monday.
Give them all the food, and then you can sneak out the back, and you don't have to deal with them. We also want to thank Stockyards Bank and Trust with that transition. Stockyards Bank and Trust, Jim, that's where you put all your money, right?
I do.
They appreciate it. That's why they're doing so well at opening new branches.
Yeah.
They're trying to chase you around the state. So they've got Central Indiana locations, 71st and Binford, downtown Indianapolis, Carmel, Plainfield, County Line Road, and Emerson, and now down in Center Grove, basically Bargersville and 135, and our next location is coming to Whitestown.
Yeah, when we went to the grand opening down in Center Grove, they had a big piggy bank out in front.
We need to talk to Paul Lamone and get the big pig at one of our Merritt in the Mornings.
Well, we ought to just have it we've actually had it at Branch Bank.
We did. Their new one on County Line Road down there on the Greenwood branch.
Yeah.
But we might be due to, I think we did that last spring. We're probably due to go back.
How many, is this 54 for us?
This is episode 54.
Yes, it is.
Can you believe it?
No.
Fortunately, we're our own producers, so we can only be canceled by ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
so
we have a growing audience.
We do. I was told that by Josh.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, enough of all that frivolity.
Yeah.
Vanessa Green Sinders, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you've been president of the Indiana Chamber now for a year and a half, just a little over.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Mm-hmm.
I took the job at the end of 2023, and some may know I am an adopted Hoosier. My husband is from Indiana near Terre Haute, and he and I met in D.C. when we were both working for different senators. We spent 20 years there, but back in 2022, we decided that D.C. is great, but Indiana is better, as we all know. And we moved here, and this opportunity with the Chamber came about, and we were talking a little bit before the show started, but Indiana is such a great place to live and to work and to start and grow your business, and to be able to help share that message and work towards that mission is just a really awesome experience that I've been able to do at the Chamber. So.
Many people are watchers know Chip Sinders from his time with Lugar, yes. And he was everywhere when he was a staffer for Lugar.
Yeah.
And if you needed something fixed, you called Chip. And
that's my husband.
Yes. It certainly is, and you've been crisscrossing the state ever since.
Yeah.
And tell us, I think our audience would love to know: is the state chamber growing? How many speeches have you made? How many podcasts? What is your performance these days on reaching out to your membership and to and to possible members?
Yeah, well, that is a big priority. I have made member engagement key, one of my main pillars, and we have about 4,000 member companies in membership. We always want more, though, so as Jim mentioned, we are traveling around the state constantly. I was saying I'm headed to LaGrange County tomorrow morning to speak at the local chamber there, their legislative event, and one of the metrics that I pay a lot of attention to is our engagement with our local chamber partners, which we have one here right now.
Thank you very much for being here. Actually, you got a double dip on Lawrence this year.
But I think that we are the state's largest broad-based business advocacy organization, and the only way that we can know how to advocate and what to advocate for is by going and listening and hearing and getting feedback from all corners of the state. So I take that job really seriously. We did our Chamber Day at the State House in March, which was kind of a redesigned advocacy day and evening event, and we had 45 local chambers participate with us and a couple hundred business leaders. And when I think about metrics I'm most proud of, that's one of them, because we've never had that many local chambers participate. And I think that speaks to the power of business and the power of chambers in the state, and how working together we can make the state even stronger.
Well, I know. I talk to my peers in the local chamber world, and that's been kind of universal, that that we didn't always see the state chamber going out to all parts of the state, and you've been kind of ever present. You're like the Doug Bowles of chambering.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
I pay a lot of attention to the news, and you've kind of retooled your leadership, and some really great fresh blood, a la Jennifer George, and your advocacy for the chambers. And a couple things that I wanted to talk about is workforce development today, as well as what the state chamber does with legislation, and how you and your team play a role. I'm talking about Adam and things like people like that.
Yeah. So look, advocacy is core to our mission at the state chamber. We are there to cultivate and maintain that world-class environment for businesses to prosper and Hoosiers to prosper in the state. And so much of that happens in the General Assembly with the governor, with the administration, and with stuff going on in D.C. And so we got to be at the table in all of those conversations. So we have a government affairs team, an advocacy team. Jim, you mentioned Adam Berry, one of our leaders who works on economic development issues. But we have just, I think, since I've come on, I have been very focused on how do we prioritize, like what are the issues most important that we need to work on? Because I think that you have to use your voice strategically, right? You can't be all things to all people, and you can't weigh in on every conversation. And so we need to pick and choose, because that's going to make our advocacy more effective and impactful. And to do that, we use our Economic Vision Plan, Indiana Prosperity 2035, which has 6 key pillars from workforce, which we can come back to, education, infrastructure, economic growth, quality of place, and healthy communities and families. And all of our work, whether it's advocacy or honestly anything else at the chamber, needs to fit within those pillars. And even within that, we have to prioritize. So, the chamber has been around for, I think, 103 years, right? A super long, successful organization. And when I came in, I thought, well, this is such a successful organization, and how do we continue to make that success even better and bigger and stronger, because the world is just evolving faster and faster, and we got to keep up, right? And so, we have looked for opportunities internally to promote and offer kind of new leadership to some of our longstanding folks who have been with the chamber for a long time, put people in different roles, kind of make sure everybody across the organization is, again, working towards those pillars of our economic vision plan. And it's really exciting to see. And, I'm just a big believer in communication and collaboration. Back to the local chamber point. And I take that responsibility really seriously, because I think that's how we're more successful internally and externally. So I guess I didn't talk about workforce development. Should I talk? Do you want to talk about that? Yeah, more?
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. I think that's a big part of what You do.
Yes. I know there's so many things. So I guess, we both from an advocacy perspective, but also from a programmatic perspective, we get involved in workforce. We have a organization, the Institute for Workforce Excellence, which is a nonprofit that just focuses on providing workforce resources to employers. And there we have been heavily engaged with the state's focus around work-based learning and internships and apprenticeships, which gets back to workforce development and training. In order for our businesses to have the workforce that they need, those workers need to be trained. We need to be figuring out what are the skills that our employers need, and then how are our educational institutions providing those skills, and making sure that there's a demand signal coming from employers and the education institutions are picking that up. So we've been focused on that a lot.
Klopp, the reason why I asked the question is because whenever we talk to employers or anybody in the workspace, it's all about we can't get enough people to work and skilled work.
Skilled work, I think, is probably even the bigger thing that I hear locally. Because, if it's a manual labor job, I've got a guy over here that makes screws. He's like, I could teach anybody to push a button, but he goes, the engineers are what I need also. And sometimes those are in short supply.
Yeah, well, and I would say I think we should take a moment to celebrate the focus that Indiana has placed on trying to upskill and reskill our workforce. And some of you might be familiar, the Indiana Department of Education just went through a process to redesign the high school diploma and to instill more flexibility in that high school diploma so that students can go out and do internships and apprenticeships and get more of that work-based learning, get more of those communication skills, try out different things so that they're going to be better, more prepared to enter the workforce or go to college or enlist in the military, right? So I think Indiana is really leading because we know we have a need, as you said, right? Like every employer you talk to talks about how we need more workforce, but I think we've really taken the bull by the horns and really tried to change things up to respond to that. And I think Secretary Katie Jenner is doing a great job with that.
So how much economic development work do you do in your role? Obviously, from the state chamber perspective, you're working with the legislature saying, here's what businesses need from you. But there's also an outward-facing component where you look at businesses and say, here's why you should be in Indiana.
Yes.
What is that elevator pitch?
Yes. So, look, I think that when you think about Indiana, one, for a business, our tax environment is great. We are consistently ranked in the top 10 nationally, best in the Midwest from a kind of tax climate perspective from the Tax Foundation. I think Forbes ranked us number 2 in the country for starting a business. And so from low cost to start and operate your business to space to being the crossroads of America, right? Like you can get pretty much anywhere in the U.S. So like we have a ton of distribution. The workforce, people are nice. Hoosiers want to help other people. And look, I started this conversation by saying I'm an adopted Hoosier and I would never leave, right? I grew up on the East Coast, spent a ton of time in D.C., but we have loved our experience here in Indiana, and I think Indiana has so much to offer. And I think a lot of it is just sharing that message and talking about it and talking about the innovation and the development and the opportunity that we have here in the state, and making sure that everybody knows about it.
So one of our key advantages is, you mentioned we're the crossroads of America, logistics seems to be a natural for Indiana. How do we balance logistics and some of our the natural things that we have to offer with not everybody wants to live next door to a warehouse? So
yeah. I think that's something that maybe goes back to my communication and collaboration point where we all have to work together, right? The locals kind of from a local, regional, and state perspective to kind of work through those issues and figure out what makes sense, right? And what makes sense up in, LaGrange County where I'm going tomorrow is not going to be what makes sense down in Jeffersonville, right? And back to your earlier point, I think our role as the state chamber when it comes to economic development is, again, making sure that those tools are available from the state or at the state level, so that all the different regions can kind of figure out how they can grow and what they want to do. And so our role is to support that. We were very supportive of the READY program under the last administration. And we're also supportive of kind of working with the Braun team and the regions on what economic development is going to look like in the future, and the emphasis on regions having kind of a really big say in what that looks like. And we're ready for it and ready to support all regions. Like, I think that's my job. How do we elevate all of Indiana? And again, as the statewide organization, make sure that we're not just talking about what's happening in Indianapolis, we're talking about what's happening, again, up north, down south, over towards Richmond, and all over the state, because everywhere has a lot to offer.
I want to follow up on that in just a second. We have to do just a little bit of business.
Yes, pay a bill.
Our guest today is Vanessa Green Sinders. She's president and CEO of the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. We're coming to you live once again from Cafe Audrey's at beautiful Fort Harrison. Come on out and check it out. They're open for breakfast and lunch 7 days a week. So get here before 3, because if you get here at 3:01, they're going to say sorry. I know that from experience. So also want to thank Stockyards Bank and Trust. Location 71st and Benford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, Greenwood at Emerson and County Line Road, Center Grove down on 135 near Bargersville. Coming soon to Whitestown. And Jim, I was just down in Louisville over the weekend. They are everywhere in Louisville.
They are. Yeah, they really are. And, you know, it's the little engine that could. They are a terrific organization. And I've met the CEO and just homespun.
That reminds me, their breakfast is coming up. They need to make sure that you're registered for that.
Well, they may not invite me back.
Well, there might be a reason. I'm the only one who knows about this. So.
We try to make this a challenge.
We'll talk to Paula about that. We'll see.
We'll just see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably have better news, because they talk about the economy in these breakfasts, and the economy is starting to rev up, and no pun intended with the weekend coming. But
they need to sponsor an IndyCar.
Yeah.
Or we need to sponsor an IndyCar with their money.
They need to keep sponsoring us.
Well, they're going to keep that. They too have signed on.
All right.
So now we're looking to add a third and a fourth sponsor. But Stockyards Bank, they are solid. They're going to be with us. We appreciate their support. Mm-hmm. They were like our first sponsor. Paid sponsor, I think. Thank you, Paula. Also, want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company. Yep. The race is coming up this weekend.
What a perfect opportunity.
It is. You can go in there.
Memorial Day.
They've got catering for all your guests that are coming in from out of town. They will make you box lunches.
They have chocolate cake.
They do. Josh Gillespie is our fabulous producer and voice guy. Josh, tell us what their special
voice guy.
Well, their voice caught me off guard there. Well, their specials this week are $10 off catering orders totaling $100 or more, or $20 off on catering orders totaling $200 or more. So like you said, Brad, take this out to the track. This is the best idea ever.
Yeah. You know, Josh is so good, maybe one day we'll even let his face be on camera.
Really? You sure you want that?
I don't know. We'll think about it.
We'll play a little guitar.
We could. Mm-hmm. Actually, we could do like they did on the Tim the Toolman show, where he was Wilson, the guy next door, where you just see the top of his head over the fence.
I'll get a little fence right here to put in front of my face.
There we go. There we go. So, all right. So back to the actual content of this show. So, and I think I might even give you a heads up on this. I wanted to ask about it. A couple of weeks ago, City of Lawrence had a couple of Ball State economists, Mike Hicks and somebody else, come in, and they've done a 25-year-long study just on economic development, migration patterns of people, whether or not tax incentives work, whether that helps generate and increase the tax base. Their conclusions were that in the last 25 years, there's been a pivot to where the jobs now follow the individuals. So people first choose where they want to live. Yep. Like you wanted to live in Indiana, and then the jobs will follow them, and that a lot of the tax incentives, TIF districts that have been handed out really do nothing to increase the tax base of those municipalities. I'm just curious if you've seen that at a state level, and then how do we pivot to take advantage of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question, and I guess I am case number one of moving here. I moved here before I had the job with the chamber because we wanted to be in Indiana. But I guess how I would answer that is to say that we and many other organizations throughout the state are focused on attracting talent, right? To your point, and whether that's from recent college grads, we have a significant numbers of students come into Indiana to our great universities, and we should do a better job of keeping them here after graduation to address that exact point. And so there's lots of initiatives underway to do that. In particular, I think some of the things we talked about back to quality of place and ready dollars or regional economic development that support some of those amenities that talent wants to see in their communities. That's how you get people to come here, stay here, and then be part of that workforce.
Purdue University has a program to keep the students in Indiana, and I think you're going to see more and more of that, and should, because obviously the talent with these organizations, these universities, is unmatched.
Yeah.
And we're going to need so many engineers in the coming years to stay in Indiana and to come to Purdue and stay in Indiana.
And Jim, you mentioned a good point that I think we also are really blessed with the fact that both Indiana University, Indianapolis, and Purdue University at Indianapolis. I never remember the exact acronyms. I think it's, but the point is, we have both of our really exceptional state universities planting significant physical presences in Indianapolis, which is going to elevate our capital city in additional ways that I think goes back to talent of how do you get recent college grads or others to want to be in Indiana. You need that vibrant capital city, and I mean there's lots of vibrancy with the fact that the Pacers won in overtime last night and the fever. No, Chip woke me up when he was screaming so loud that they
I'm surprised I didn't wake up
Susan.
Purdue Polytech High School is just quite a place, and that is not a diamond in the rough anymore. That is shiny and really contributing to Indianapolis and the state of Indiana, and that just kind of that starts you at Purdue in high school, and then hopefully going on to one of their campuses, if not West Lafayette.
Yeah. Well, to Vanessa's point, the state of Indiana does a good job. They've got their regional small business development centers. I think there's 11 of those, and 10 of those are housed at universities. And I know we work closely with the Central Indiana Small Business Development Center.
Yeah. Well, and I might put in a plug while I'm thinking about that to our members and to businesses in the state. So 80% of our member companies have less than 100 employees, which I think is a fact that not everybody realizes. And we have spent the last year thinking about how can we provide additional resources and voice to those small businesses, because they're really important. And so we have recently launched a small business council for our membership for those businesses, so that they can talk to us about the issues they care about. We can ask them questions about what resources would be helpful to provide to them. And so if any smaller businesses are out there and want to join that group, that's another way to get involved. And it's a moment to celebrate, I think, the focus that the Governor Braun's team is Governor Braun and his team are putting on small business and entrepreneurship and growing that. There's legislation that was passed this session to create one Office of Entrepreneurship to kind of be that front door for small business and budding entrepreneurs, because we know that's going to be key to economic growth. And to your point, I think a lot of that work has already been happening in the state, but how do you make it as easy as possible for small businesses to access, and all together, I think, is the point of that legislation.
Well, the bedrock of Indiana is small business and small towns. There's just no question about it. And I'm really glad that you kind of put a target or a focal point on that, because it's in essence, and all this economic development, workforce development, all works together. And I'm glad you've got your eye on it.
So from the state chamber perspective, I think a lot of people think that the state chamber is just for big businesses.
Nope.
How do you what is your sales pitch to the small businesses who think, oh, the state chamber is too big and I just get lost?
Yeah. So look, I mean, I guess part of my sales pitch is what I just said. We just launched a small business council to specifically speak to that segment. But, again, a lot of people think about the advocacy that we do. That helps all businesses, right? Because we are trying to make sure that the climate here is the best possible to start your business and grow your business. But that might be kind of overwhelming or a lot for some smaller businesses to kind of wrap their arms around. We also do a significant number of conferences and events that are focused on kind of compliance, best practices, resources for businesses like HR conferences so that people know, HR leaders know what are the kind of up and coming trends, how can they respond. We do supervising and managing people training. We do forklift training. We really try to listen to our members to hear like, what do they need, right? And then we try to provide it in kind of those best practice and resources perspective. And for small businesses, we also have a partnership where we offer health insurance for businesses from 2 to 50 employees, which has been a really important thing for small businesses to have access to where they might not have access to it elsewhere. They can get it through the chamber.
I hear that a lot, in fact. So looking forward, where do you see the Indiana Chamber going? Where do you see the state of Indiana going? What are our challenges and what are our opportunities?
So look, my vision for the chamber is that we want to be one of the economic thought leaders for the state, right? How do we keep the state driving forward? In partnership and collaboration with the governor and legislative leaders and other, we are blessed with, I think, a really strong stakeholder group in Indiana. But we want to be part of that and really drive the state forward from an economic thought leadership perspective. I think that I'm a positive person, in case you haven't gotten that in this podcast.
Yes,
I guess
definitely enthusiastic.
And so I consider every challenge an opportunity, right? I mean, obviously there's some uncertainty out there in the world right now with whether it's tariffs or fiscal issues or whatnot, whether it's in D.C. or here, but as we talked about, Indiana is so well positioned. We are low cost, easy to start and grow your business from a regulatory standpoint. Lots of space. We're in the center of the country. There's lots of focus on manufacturing and reshoring and kind of skills and building things, growing things, moving things. Like, we do all those things, right? And so I think that, the opportunity or the challenge that I see is making sure that we have the resources, both from an infrastructure standpoint and a workforce standpoint, right? Which I guess is all infrastructure. But how do we make sure we can kind of keep feeding that development, right? But I think we're well positioned.
Well, what I have accumulated in my career is that the understanding that people in the burgs, people that are in the small towns, people that are in small business, really don't understand state government. They don't know how to scale it. It's daunting. That state house is difficult to access, and they almost need an ombudsman. And that's how I've always viewed the state chamber.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, we can direct and help, and you should just do my sales pitch for me.
He's like the best hype guy you could possibly have. I've learned that over I've known him. How long have I known you? Like 15, 20 years?
Some people say too long.
So, yeah, exactly. Not enough.
And I guess I would add, hopefully, to your point, Jim, we can bring people together. We can be a convener, right? Because we represent all sizes of business, all sectors, all regions, and we can try to be that broad-based voice.
I feel good.
I feel enthused.
Yes.
It's time to go out and tackle the world.
Yeah. And, this weekend is one of the biggest economic development opportunities ever during the year. State of Indiana.
As much attention as Fox Sports is giving the city of Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
My gosh.
Well, the race is happening on Sunday and the Pacers game, within 12 hours, there's 2 preeminent sporting events
and the
happening.
people aren't bad either.
No, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Caitlin Clark could be the spokesman for the state.
Yeah. All right, last question. Who's going to win the 500?
That's a question for Chip. I don't know.
Connor Daly.
Connor Daly. I like that answer. So our guest today has been Vanessa Green Sinders. She's president and CEO of the State Indiana Chamber. He's Jim Merritt. Yes. I'm Brad Kloffenstein. Over there in the booth is Josh Gillespie. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Stockyards Bank and Trust, locations at 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove.
It's always a challenge.
It used to be we had a screen here. These would all be listed. So now I have to go off the top of my head.
I know. You got to remember.
I do. Well, that's why they pay us the big bucks to do this show. I think I got them all.
Yes, I think you did too.
Or if you're down in Louisville, they're everywhere.
They're growing, and it's great.
They are. So also want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan and Greyhound Pass in Carmel. Get all your track fixins there. They've got $10 off a $100 catering order or $20 off a $200 catering order. So
Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So don't cheap out on the food this year, Jim. Just.
I usually do.
Actually, what happens is you go in and buy a $5 sandwich, and then you slather about $7 worth of honey mustard on there. I know you like your honey mustard. I'm not hating. So thank you all for watching. I don't think we'll be back in 3 weeks because 2 weeks from now is the State Chamber Executives Conference, and I'll be in Muncie. So unless you want to come,
will I.
You're gonna, 2 of the 3 of us will be there. In fact, here I'm going to tease at least 2 of your appearances. I know you're going to be in LaGrange County tomorrow, hanging with the Amish and others, yes. And then I know for a fact you're going to be the keynote speaker at the Greater Lawrence Chamber annual meeting in November. So thank you for agreeing for doing that.
You're a busy lady.
Busy lady.
Yep. And she drove to Lawrence to meet with us.
Yes.
Exactly. And my pleasure.
This is like community service. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in 3 weeks.